Thank you very much. The change is significant, there's no doubt in that. Because this joint staff headquarters was established, we know, after 71 war and for a specific purpose. It was basically meant to coordinate the three forces plans, and also there were many other things which they were supposed to do. But because of army's big size and because of army's clout, I would say it did not work the manner it was intended for. You remember that initially there used to be rotation from the three services that two times army used to come and then air force and navy army. So it was a sort of rotation that was working all right. But then they realized that because whenever army is away, they don't really cooperate, let us say, to an extent to the that was required. So then they kept, the chairman as the from the army always. And you must also be remembering that for some time, General Musharraf was wearing both the hats. He was chairman as well as the um, chief of army staff. So actually, whatever has happened now, you can say that things have been brought more closer to the ground situation. That was actually happening, that army was more assertive, it had more weight, more saying. So instead of having that coordinating headquarter, now they have created a proper chief of defense force command, which means that assertiveness, which was already happening anyway, that has been formalized. So as far the working is concerned, I do not think something big will happen. But this is my view, that whatever was happening actually on ground, things have been made, created in a manner that now it will be closer to the reality. I think the better arrangement could have been that now that army chief is the senior most, because he's a five-star, he's field marshal. So as long as he was there, it was okay to have CDS from army, or it could have been said that the senior most would be the CDS. Uh, so that way, it would have been better. But in my own opinion, because CDS will never be able to act alone, so that way the other services may not have apprehensions unless they feel that chief of defense forces is extending his, you can say, writ by interfering in the two services, which is unlikely. But still, the better situation would have been, there was, if it had not been mentioned that CDS will be always from the chief of army staff will be CDS. That could have been left vague, and senior most or some word could have been used. And if this has to happen, for example, if army chief has to be the CDS all the time, then they should have added, in my opinion, two vice CDSs, CDFs, the four stars, one from Air Force Air Chief, and so that everybody knows that all three of them collectively they will make this decision. Although even now this is how it is going to happen, but I think it would have been better if they had to specify that CDF will be from army. They should have also specified that there will be two assistants or vice CDFs, one from Air Force and one from Navy. But I don't think. I think the working will continue as it was happening erstwhile before this thing also. That is my opinion. That is my assessment. Uh, Although it is not clear, but my own assessment is that this slot which has been created uh, is likely to be another four-star. Strategic command being a different service. Uh, if that might happen, I'm not very sure. But I also see one flaw in it, that it has again been mentioned that this appointment will always be from the army. There was no need to mention this. It could have been left open because the nature of war and the character of war, as we can see today, you must have observed that air power is very important, drones are important, cyberspace is important, Even space wars they're talking about space wars. So you never know that how the war will change with the change in technology and changing techniques. So to me, it seems that they will have to change this provision very soon, if not immediately, that this commander of the strategic forces could be from any of the three forces. And also, I suspect that he is going to be another four-star. I think your question in itself has, partially it contains the answer also. It is not good, I think. This lifetime immunity for anyone, in my opinion, is not good. I always say there are two things which are always detrimental to the organizational capacity and organizational efficiency. One is extension. Extensions are actually a poison for any organization. And second is such immunities. Even if it was for President of Pakistan, I think it was only for the tenure of as long as he's a incumbent president. I'm not very sure, not aware of that law, or maybe it has now been extended to a lifetime for the president also. But in my own assessment, I do not. I will see how it happens. If not immediately, this clause of the constitution will be challenged in the court because our constitution says that there can be no article, no law which is in contravention to the Islamic basic teachings. And in Islam, this lifetime immunity, there's no such concept. So maybe it will work for some time, but ultimately, to me, it seems it will be struck down. Hmm. Although the clause of the prerogative of the prime minister to select the three chiefs, that has not been changed, which means that that power still lies with the civilian authority, and the final approval by the president. I think that is the procedure. But yes, if you make this five-star as a permanent feature, then probably you are right that maybe armed forces, they have occupied a little more space. But then the question is that who has ceded that space? Who has voted to create this space? So I think that says a lot. Civilians have done it to themselves. This is a self-inflicted injury. If they are happy on that, what can you and me do? There's only one lesson, and very vivid lesson and very clear lesson, that whenever you make such changes which are generally not acceptable, I'm not only talking about this article, but also the articles about Supreme Court. Uh, I think any popular government, whenever they get a chance, they might revoke these things. Of course, they'll have to go for two-third majority. So I do not see any permanence of some of the articles which have been modified in this amendment. So let us see how it goes. But the lesson which you are asking is that one any changes in the constitution which are not popular with the public, ultimately they get reverted. As you know, the powers of the president were increased and they went back, and all such things happened. So whereas for some time this is going to stay, but the longevity of these amendments, I suspect, will not last very long. I'm aware of one thing, that this was being considered to change the system from Chairman General Chief Staff Committee to CDS. Now it has become CDF. For quite some time back. I remember as back as 2005. So there were presentations, there were consultations. So for a very long time, people were mulling over it. But of course, because it is happening now in some peculiar circumstances, especially peculiar political circumstances, so people might suspect that. But in my own opinion, it will all depend that how the rules of business are, formulated after this. Because what authority Chief of Defense Forces will assert on other services, will the other services remain as independent as they were before? For example, if they can carry on with their own promotions, with their own postings of the senior officers, and if they are free to procure the hardware according to their own planning and developmental strategy, then probably this impression will go away, fade away automatically, that it has been done for an individual. Or but if the present CDF starts asserting itself beyond what has been said in this article, and some rules of business are made in a manner that the other two services feel that there's a lot of encroachment in their sphere, in their domain, then probably this thing will get strengthened, that it has been made with a certain motive. So I think it would be unfair to say anything on that unless we see the rules of business, if there would be any change in them or not. Both the systems are prevalent in the world otherwise. For example, the UK system, they have this CDS system, and Americans, they have Joint Chief of Staff Committee system, although they have commands, so their system is a little different. Indians also, they have made a CDS, although he's separate. It is not the army chief who also acts as the CDS. So there are many ways of doing all this. So how it will be seen? I don't think China will have or Americans will have any problem, because Americans otherwise they deal with individuals and they never deal with countries. I have to make this statement. So for them, probably it will be easier dealing with fewer people. As far as China is concerned, normally they do not interfere in the internal matters, and they themselves have a very strong hierarchical system. So I don't think that is going to make any big difference. As far as you talked about the nuclear strategy or nuclear things, whether those will get affected. Uh, I think the impact will be positive on the enemies. Positive in the sense that it will deter them even more than before, because now they will see that one man is in charge and there is a unity of command. But it has one negative side also, that one person taking multiple decisions at a time will burden that one personality. And secondly, that one personality becomes such a high value target, as we have seen that the way Israelis have been targeting the leadership of Iranians. So Indians also they learn a lot from Israelis. So if you concentrate too much power in one personality, and Allah forbid if that personality gets hit, there can be a lot of confusion and paralysis in the command structure. So this is the low side of all this. But otherwise, I think it will have deterrent value, may slightly increase. Yes, you're right. Joint coordination, as I said, was otherwise going on. There was a very close cooperation between Air Force and Army to fight terrorism. And de facto, exactly this was already happening, that Army chief was calling the shots. And Air Force and Army, they had a very close coordination and they were operating together. So I do not think that it will make any difference as far as the present setup is concerned. And it is not going to affect that. It is not going to make it even more stronger or even dilute it, because it was already happening that way. The only the other low side, as I've already mentioned, that as long as the two other services or the three other services, if the strategic command also comes up as a service, if they feel that they have enough space for themselves to make their own internal decisions, it will not make a big ripple in the overall military hierarchy. That I think I mentioned earlier also. That is very likely, because not only this amendment, not only 27th, constitutional amendment, even 26th, these two amendments will be, in my own assessment, will be reviewed, and some portions may get ratified, some portions may get thrown away. by any popular government which has good majority in the two houses. That uneasiness will stay unless it is also ratified or accepted by the next elected government, because many factions of the people, many parties have their apprehensions as far as the legality of this present government is concerned. So whatever the legal experts are saying, they have a point in that. I think the first thing I would suggest is that as far as the Chief of Defense Forces is concerned, he should also have two Vice Chief of Defense Forces, one each from Air Force and Navy, so that everybody knows that all decisions will be taken collectively. Secondly, I would suggest that the commander of the strategic forces should be on rotation and not specifically from army. If because if this change has been made, one to bring the actual situation closer to the ground situation, to bring the paper organization closer to the ground situation. I think that is a good move. And secondly, if it is to let us say make the size of GS headquarters smaller, and smaller staff group of staff officers, and they serve this CDF system. Secondly, to have the strategic commander on rotation. And thirdly, the things should continue moving as they were moving prior to this. I mean, no interference in the other services. If that continues, I think it can be a permanent feature, and the other services will not have any apprehension, and there will be no problem as far as the military hierarchy is concerned.